Hey guys, floating content can sometimes be a pain with CSS, and there is a new feature called columns that we can use in CSS3 that makes this a little easier in some situations. So what we're going to do is go into our body here, and let's put in an article tag, which is an HTML5 tag, and that's going to have an H1. And let's not put the H1 yet. For now, I'm just going to paste in some dummy text. Okay, just a paragraph of dummy text. If we go ahead and reload, looks like this. Now, let's say that we want to split this content up into a couple different columns, 3 different columns. So what we can do now with CSS3 is we can add a property called column count and set that to whatever we want. Let's say 3. Alright, and save that and reload, and now you can see that that has been split up into 3 different columns just by this one style right here, this one property and value. Okay, if I wanted to change it to 4, we could do that, but I'm going to keep it at 3. Alright, and then there's some stuff we can do here. We can set the gap here in between each column. So we can say column gap, and let's set that to 40 pixels. And now if we reload, you can see that now there's a 40 pixel gap in between here. Another thing we could do is add kind of a border between these columns. So we can say column rule style, and let's set that to solid. If we go ahead and save that and reload, you can see we get these borders. Now, if you want to adjust the width of that, you can say column rule width, and we'll set that to 1 pixel, and that changes the width. If you want to change the color, you could also do that. We'll say column rule color, and let's set it to coral. Reload, and now you can see the colors changed. Alright, and with a lot of different properties, you can actually combine these. So if we want to go down here and just say column rule and set it to 1 pixel, solid, coral, and then we can actually, I'll just comment these out here. Okay, that makes it a little shorter. Reload, and we still get the same result. Alright, so let's say we want to put an H1 in here. So this would be the article title. Now if I reload, you'll see that the H1 it's basically only taking up this column. Okay, and that looks a little weird. For the most part, you're going to want to have your title above it all. So what we can do is go and say article H1, and we can set column span to all. And now if we go and reload, now the title is above all of the columns, no matter how many columns you have. Alright, so just something really easy and helpful that has to do with your layout and how your page looks. Alright, so now what I want to do is show you how to create an element that we can actually resize in the browser. So we're going to create a div. Let's put a line break and then a div, and we'll give it a class of, let's say, textbox1. Alright, and then in here we'll just say try and resize this element. Okay, if I save that, you can see the text right here. We're going to go up into our CSS, and let's say dot textbox1. Was that a class or an ID? Class. So textbox1, and I'm going to give it a border of 2 pixels solid. We'll set a padding of 20 pixels, a width of 300, and an overflow of auto. Okay, so we have some text with a border around it. Now we want to be able to resize this element. So all we have to do is add resize, and let's say horizontal. So now you can see it has this little image in the corner here, and if I grab that and I start dragging it, you can see I can resize it now, and I can resize it horizontally. We can also make it vertical, so now I can go vertical, and then we have a third option to do both. If I put both, then we can do it both ways. Alright, so that's that, and now I'm going to create another text box, and I want to show you how to give it an outline. So this will be text box 2. We'll say this element has a 10 pixel outline. Alright, so up here we'll say dot text box 2, and let's see, we're going to put a margin of 20 pixels here, a padding of 10, width of 300 pixels, a height of 100 pixels. We'll give it a border. Okay. So we just have some text with a border around it. Now what I want to do is set outline to 1 pixel solid red. Okay, so you can see we now have a red outline. Now we can set the offset. We can say outline dash offset and set that to whatever we want. Let's say 10 pixels. And now you can see this element has a 10 pixel outline. Okay, so the offset is the space between each border. So again, something very simple that was added with CSS3. Now the last thing I want to show you is the Flexbox. Now Flexbox basically consists of a container, a Flex container with some Flex items inside, and the Flex container basically defines how the Flex items are laid out. So I know that that's a little vague, so let me give you an example. Down here we're going to create a div. Actually, I'm just going to paste this in. Okay, so we just have a div with the class of Flex container, and then we have a couple items inside with the class of Flex item. Now up here in the CSS, let's put in our Flex container class. And we're going to set the width to 400 pixels and the height to 250 pixels. Background color we'll set to black. Okay, and then for the Flex item, we'll set a background color of light blue and a width of 100 pixels, height of 100 pixels, and then a margin of 10 pixels. Okay, so if we go ahead and reload, that's what it looks like. Now what we can do is say in our Flex container, display Flex, not Clex. And if we reload, now you can see that they all line up nicely. Alright, so Flex is new to CSS3. Now if we want to change the direction, we can go up here and say Flex direction, and we're going to say row dash reverse. And if we reload, now you can see that they're now going this way. We can also use the column option, which puts them in columns. We can use column reverse. Okay, so I guess that looks the same, but you can use column reverse. And I'm just going to put that back to, actually I'll just get rid of that. I'll comment it out. Okay, now we can also add justify content, and let's say we want it center. Okay, now you can see that the boxes are center. We can do space between, reload, and now you can see that there's more space between them. There's also space around, which would look like that. Okay, so basically it's just, as I said, you have this Flex container and there's different ways that you can lay out the Flex items inside. Now we could also change the order of an item. So if we were to go down here and give the second one a class of first, and then up here we could say dot first, oops, and we could do order 1. Actually, let's do order -1 and reload, and now you can see that this one, flex item 2, is now first. So again, just gives you another way to lay out your content. So that's going to be it for now. In the next video, I want to take what we've learned in this section and apply it to a small project or user interface. Alright, so I will see you in the next video.